Starting to turn into one of those days. Carvey's back. We've had breaking news in the last quarter of an hour, or less actually. The two Premier League games have already gone from the Boxing Day schedule. You can see at the bottom of your screen, Liverpool and Leeds is one, Wolves against Watford, another one. Carvey's with us, and there's a statement that's followed Carvey. I mean, goodness me, that was quite incredible. Two games, bang, bang, they were just both gone within a space of minutes.
Look, I think the timing is the Premier League are doing their best to make sure that this kind of information is communicated to fans as quickly as possible, and they want to be as transparent as possible, and they want to make sure that fans have plenty of time for them to know that the game is off. Where possible, the Premier League will always try and do that. It is quite a long statement from the Premier League, and there is a lot of information in it. And it makes it clear that the requests to postpone these two games came from Leeds United and Watford. Now, as far as Leeds are concerned, they're of course supposed to be playing Liverpool on Boxing Day. The statement says that the Premier League board concluded that Leeds will not be able to fulfil the fixture due to the number of players with COVID, injuries and illness. So it's not just COVID, it's also injuries and illness, which means they don't have 14 fit players to face Liverpool. The statement also says that Leeds United's training ground has been closed after consultation with the UK Health Security Agency and the Premier League. So that is why Liverpool's game against Leeds is off. Now, as far as the Watford game against Wolves is concerned, the Premier League say Watford continue to have an insufficient number of players to field a team after their game against Crystal Palace last Saturday was postponed following a COVID-19 outbreak. Due to players coming out of isolation, it is fully expected Watford will be available for their fixture on Tuesday, the 28th of December against West Ham United. So Watford unable to play on Boxing Day, but they will be able to play against West Ham United. And I think that relates to the fact that if you're unvaccinated, if you come into close contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID, then you have to go into isolation. And I assume that that is what has happened with at least one Watford player. They have come into contact with someone who's positive, they're unvaccinated, so they've had to go into isolation, which means that they're not available to play for the club. So the Premier League giving a lot of information, being very transparent about why these games are being called off. And they do make it clear that they will try and make sure that there aren't any last-minute cancellations. They know how frustrating that is for supporters, but of course sometimes in emergency situations they have to think about safety of players, staff and supporters first. So sometimes, unfortunately, that does happen. But they will make every possible effort to make sure that if games are going to be postponed, supporters are given as much notice as possible.
Now, of course, Leeds were struggling to field the squad the other night. I had a 15-year-old on the bench, for goodness sake. But I mean, fans might wonder, though, Covey, you said that it's a combination of COVID, injury and illness. Fans might want to know what's the breakdown of that. You know, how many have got COVID, how many's injury and illness? Because obviously, traditionally, if it was just you got a lot of injuries and a few players were ill or whatever, you wouldn't just be, I mean, it sounds harsh, but I know fans are talking about this on social media. So it's, you know, how many have actually got COVID and how many are injury and illness? Because you wouldn't, I suppose, cancel a game just for injuries, would you? If you almost have to field a squad with just injuries.
You're making the point, I think, that Jurgen Klopp made as well, that he said that he wants transparency. For instance, if Liverpool players test positive, the information is released immediately. And he made the point as well that it's very difficult to prepare to play against opponents when you don't know which of their players have tested positive, which of their players are going to be missing. I suppose the only bit of good news in all this, as far as Liverpool are concerned, is that we know they were very, very unhappy about having to play on Sunday, Tuesday and Sunday. And now it means that they don't have to play two games in 3 days. So I suppose from that perspective, Jurgen Klopp should be happy.
OK. Carvey, thanks so much. I think you'll be back shortly with more updates. I'm absolutely sure the way the day's panning out so far.